defenders, I think, it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Man. Come on. Special guest settings today, Mr. Clarke. How you doing, my guy?
Hello, hello everyone. Good. Yeah, really good. Yeah, looking forward to the start of the season. I'm sure we all are. Nice little win the other night against Barcelona. So Emirates Cup coming, of course, Community Shield. So yeah, we got some big games. It's good.
And you've kicked it off greatly, as usual. As I just said before we came on, we've done this a couple of times as usual. Adrian, thank you for doing that. Again, in front of me, I've got a couple of questions to do with our season that's just gone, the season to come, pre-season, a bit of things in relation to individual players. I think the first question would be, what did you make of last season in all, now that you've had time to reflect? Would you consider it a missed opportunity with the Premier League, or would you say Arsenal overperformed? Because last season, everyone would have bit your arm off a second, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think we're all conflicted, aren't we, a little bit, because we dreamed of winning the title for so long, and it was there for us at one point. We were in pole position. So I think it's okay to feel disappointed that we didn't win the league. But I think the reality of it is that Manchester City are an awesome team. They won the treble.
Yep.
They'll go down in history as one of the best in this generation. So there's no shame in losing the title to Manchester City. So my overall reflection is, despite feeling disappointed we couldn't get it over the line, absolutely buzzing at the quality that we saw. It was great. It was absolutely superb, wasn't it, for most of the season? And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The reason that we've got Declan Rice is because of how we performed last season. There's no way that we would have been on his radar had we not played as well as we did, had we not been in that title race. So I think there's a lot to be thankful for. Massive step in the right direction. And hopefully that's just the start. Hopefully we get better now.
And you said it there, man. It just feels like the start. As you can see with our squad, with the exception of a couple names, the core nucleus haven't exactly hit their peak. They're all kind of building into it. And you mentioned Declan Rice, and that's a very interesting comment, because he's actually spoken about how the season we finished fifth, how that was optimistic, and obviously last season. And, the year we finished fifth, we missed out on top four. We've obviously done it now. Hopefully that's a good omen for things like that. Carrying on the theme with last season, where do you think it was lost then against City? Because as you said, City's a great team. I guess it means fine margins. There's no shame in losing out to Pep Guardiola and their quality players.
I think it was squad depth, wasn't it? We just didn't have enough players that could fill in when others were injured, or we didn't really have any suspension. So when players were injured, that the players that were coming in just weren't quite up to the same level. It was too big a drop off. That's reason number one. And also, we shouldn't shy away from maybe the defending. I think overall, defending in the second half of the season could have been a lot better. A lot has been said about William Saliba's absence. It's absolutely correct. Like, the stats don't lie. Like, we are incredibly stronger when he's around. But we can't just put it on William Saliba. I think that we made a few mistakes. We looked a little bit vulnerable to longer passes, over the top, to a few counters. So we just got to sort of adapt and tweak our tactical approach a little bit to fix that. I do think that Declan will help big time on those quick transitions that we have problems with, because he's a natural defender. I think he's going to be able to get in those positions and sort of make sure that if our fullbacks are stranded, that he gets back in and makes sure that we've got three quality defenders to try and cope with those attacks. So squad depth and a drop off in defensive quality, I think they were the reasons.
I agree fantastically with what you said. And I want to ask you, because I agree with the point you eloquently made there about, we can't just pull it on Saliba. I think no one can negate the fact of, as you said, statistically, we're a much better team with William Saliba in the side. Clearly, he's a quality centre half. But injuries, suspensions, loss of form, changing dynamics, them things happen. And with the greatest of respect to Rob Holding, I know he's been, subject to a lot of criticism. I wanted to ask you, do you think Kirill should have, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but do you think Kirill should have been introduced a lot sooner? Because he looked amazing towards the end of the season.
Yeah, you look at that, don't you? Like, none of us knew. Mikel Arteta didn't know, did he? That was probably the best bet. And I think if he had another go at it, Mikel Arteta, he probably wouldn't have put Rob in, and he would have gone for Kivior. And look, it might have got us 3 more points, but whether it would have got us the title is another matter, really. The other thing that really we should look back on, I think, well, this was a negative, was maybe the form of the central midfield towards the end of the season, because it had been brilliant, hadn't it? It had been absolutely stellar throughout the campaign, but we did drop off. I think Thomas Partey's form,
I agree,
towards the end, and we obviously had Jorginho that came in instead of him because of that disappointing form. So what we've done over the summer, or what Mikel Arteta and the coaching staff and Edu have done, maybe identify that area and think, well, let's bring in some younger legs. And obviously Declan takes 6 years off Partey, takes even more of Jorginho. So yeah, a bit more power, a bit more athleticism in that central midfield. And obviously with Havertz, even though he's an attacking player, he's 6 years younger than Granit Xhaka. So I think that maybe we looked a bit leggy towards the end of the season. I think because Mikel played the same team, didn't he? Virtually the whole campaign. So with Xhaka and Partey, I think it caught up with him a little bit, with their sort of legs getting into their 30s. So I think they also identified we need a bit more athleticism, some younger legs. So yeah, they're the reasons, but ultimately City just about did enough, didn't they?
I mean, I agree with everything you said. I think City's experience probably just made the difference. As you said, the centre mids with the age and whatnot. Obviously, I'm happy to see Declan Rice, and we'll get onto him. And I'm going to ask you about Havertz. That further brings our age down. We can't not speak about last season and not speak about the manager. Now, personally, for me, I think it's kind of been somewhat obvious what Arteta's wanted to do from the moment he stepped into the club, even when he didn't necessarily have the personnel. But I think off the back of the last 2 years now, and especially the one we've just gone, everyone can be amazed by what he's done. What have you learned about the manager this season? And is there anything that you want to see more? Is there any potential mistakes he made or anything like that?
Yeah, he's improved, hasn't he? He's like all the young players, you see, because he's a young manager.
Exactly.
He didn't have that experience before. He's learning on the job, as do young players coming through. So yeah, we've seen sort of steep rise in his quality. And I mean, the quality of the football's great, isn't it? I mean, it's
Champagne,
very good to watch. Very good to watch. I think that I like the variety of it as well. We're not afraid to go longer now when it's on to do so. So many forward passes, so many progressive passes. I really enjoy the sort of the interchanging of positions with Jesus and Xhaka and Martinelli on that side. You had Saka and Odegaard on the other. And White. I love those little triangles in the wide areas. I thought that they will kind of set us apart from other teams. I think that also Mikel Arteta had a bit more trust in his subs this year. He started to think of some of them as impactors. Someone like Reece Nelson's a good example. I think
cult hero now.
Yeah, exactly. He realised, he thought, hang on, I think Reece has something to offer here. I'm going to keep putting him on, and he came good, and I think that gave Reece confidence. Hopefully, we get that from Emile Smith-Rowe this year. Obviously, he gave Fabio Vieira a lot of opportunities from the bench last season. Maybe it didn't work as often with him as it did with some of the other players, but yeah, I think he just improved in everything really. In terms of what he could do better, I think it probably is. But it is hard. It's hard to pinpoint too many faults. I'd say it's this year. The test for him will be rotating properly, because last season Europa League was secondary because of our title push. So he didn't have to really think about rotation. This season he might have to because of the Champions League, and because you've got to go strong, haven't you? In the Champions League, you've got to put a really, really top team out, which might mean you have to make 2 or 3 changes on a Saturday or Sunday. Is he going to make the right calls with those changes? Is he going to take the right players out at the right time and swap them in properly? And yeah, I've got trust that he will. But that's the next challenge for him. But looking at the form of some of the guys, Trossard in particular, we do have plenty of class there that can come in and make a difference.
And I think touching on what you just said there, I think, Arteta, rightly so, hasn't always trusted all of his players, but naturally as he gets more players in, there's more scope for rotation. And, you know, you look at someone like Declan Rice, he raises the curtain of our midfield. If you can't raise the curtain, just make sure it doesn't drop off as we saw last season. And he will have to do that because we're not going into this season somewhat as a breath of fresh air. There's almost a degree of expectation. I'll be keen to see if we've got a tough game on the Saturday, Sunday, and a tough game on the Tuesday, Wednesday in the Champions League, particularly if we make, hopefully, the knockout stages, what he exactly does. You know, lastly, on the bracket of last season, who would you say is the young player and player of the season for you?
I think they got it right. I think who got player of the, it was Erdegaard that got the official player of the season.
I think it was Odegaard.
Yeah, so
he didn't give it to Saka for a change.
No, yeah. I mean, either of those were deserving winners, in my opinion. I think Erdegaard just shaded it. Obviously, so many goals, lots of assists as well. He really stepped it up, I thought, last season. Superb. Saka was brilliant as always. I thought that Martinelli really kicked on last season as well.
He's got double figures in the league.
Yeah, exactly. He took his game to a new level. I mean, all of them did, didn't they? I mean, all of the starters had cracking campaigns. I thought Ben White was great for most of last season. But he maybe dropped off a little bit at the end as well. But I thought I loved his relationship with Saka. Like it was kind of telepathic. They were just knocking the ball around for fun between them. Some lovely little combinations. Erdegaard as well joining in. That was a real treat to watch that at times. So yeah, no, I mean, yeah, everybody performed, and it's just a case of now of can you do even better? Because if we want to win the league, we're going to have to do a little bit better, aren't we? So yeah, that's the next challenge.
Yeah, you have to near enough be perfect against Manchester City. Going on a point you said, one thing I liked about Arteta tactically is, you know, in previous years, we've either been very good on the left-hand side, more so when Kolasinac was there, or we've been very good down the right-hand side. In with how Xhaka actually occupied wide positions at times. So I believe in everything you're saying there, and I think we're looking better. And I think when people look at how we can push towards the title, of course, you know, signing new players and things like that, that is seen as the sexy. So that I can't disagree. Have you seen any evolution in what Mikel Arteta has shown initially to now in pre-season and building blocks and stuff?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to pick up on was that I forgot to mention when you said what could he improve on. I think it's maybe the approach against City or against in those real tough games. I think if there's one team you've got to change it up for, it is City.
It's Man City, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't really do that. We went with the same way. We played the same style. We got a little bit exposed. So I just think with Declan coming in, we might see a more solid approach in those games. So it might be Declan and Partey, maybe more of a two. If not definitively, the way it turns out in the games, at least we'll have two more defensive-minded players in there. So that's part of the evolution for sure. And I just think there's going to be even more rotation because of Havertz and Martinelli and Trossard and Jesus. I mean, these guys want to just play in each other's positions, don't they?
Yeah. Everybody's interchanging. It's quite crazy.
Exactly. We saw that against Barcelona. I thought they were all sort of in different positions at various points. Quite a lot of the time, Havertz was up top, Jesus was left, and Trossard inside, and it was like it was rotating the whole time. Think about being a defender trying to mark that.
You can't pick up a moving target, really and truly.
It's giving you a headache. So yeah, I think even more rotation, bits more steel in the middle of the park, and maybe a bit more man to man in terms of the pressing. I think we're going to be even more aggressive this season, and just to make sure that we bully teams and we don't let them off the hook. I think against Man United in pre-season, we're a bit soft compared to United, who are bang up for it,
trying to kill our players, really.
But because we were a bit soft, they had time to pick those longer passes over the top, and that's where they hurt us for the individual mistakes we made for the goals. The idea really is that you put so much pressure on so aggressively that really that there's no quality going forward. And if at times where we can't press, we've just got to sit back in our shape and say, come on then, come and
take
break
the punches.
us down. Exactly. Like back ourselves to defend against teams. And we'll have to do that this season. But in the main, I do think we might be even more aggressive in the press, which is good. I think it's a real positive.
I think you said it there. I think against Barcelona, especially in the second half after we came back from behind, you saw really aggressive pressing. And I think you saw variety in the game in that, you know, Arteta, as you said, players are all about the place, not necessarily fixated on one position, but we can still go long. Like if I can remember correctly, I think one of Trossard's goals is just Ramsdale just kicking it into Jesus. He did very well. And we obviously scored. You
That was
touched
a
on
Man City
Declan.
goal, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, it was exactly a carbon copy of Pep.
It could have been Edison launching that pass to Jesus, couldn't it? I mean, that's what they've been doing that for years. Like, so they suck you in, don't they? They play out from the back, and everyone presses against them or tries, and then just to change it up, every now and again they go boom, and it's an effective tool. And Jesus held the ball up for that goal, but for me, Havertz can do that. I think we might see him on occasion just take up that position and say, "Come and hit me," and then he can bring others into play. So yeah, it's a good new weapon, that.
I mean, you set us up perfectly for that because we've been discussing Havertz and Rice vaguely. I want to talk about Havertz first. Now, I'm pretty sure every Arsenal fan probably wouldn't have had Havertz in terms of improving our midfield and things, but Arteta has shown he'll make unpopular decisions and he can somewhat see a vision before us commoners can see it. What did you make of the initial signing of Havertz, and how do you see him tying into Arsenal? Because Arteta has spoken about his height, his versatility, and actually playing up front, but he keeps speaking about him being a midfielder. Now, against Man United, Rice in the lone six, Odegaard and Havertz either side didn't exactly work. But what do you make of the Havertz signing and what he brings to our club?
I think it'll work in the end. Yeah, I do. I think they'll get it right. Yeah, I was surprised, but I wasn't disappointed because I have always liked Havertz. I don't think he's always appreciated. I think he's going to divide fans. I think that is clear already.
Of course, he already has.
Yeah, exactly. I'm hearing a lot of negative chatter about Kai Havertz, but there'll be others that love him. I fall more towards the love him section.
I'm with you with that.
But I can also see the frustration. I think part of it is his body language is at times he's a bit languid, like Mesut Ozil. His arms are down, and he doesn't always look like he's moving as much as he is. But let me tell you, I mean, the stats don't lie.
They don't lie.
I mean, his movement is among the best in the Premier League. He makes so many runs last season for Chelsea, a lot of which he never got the ball. He is always on the move. He's a ghoster. He goes into space.
As you can see with him at the back post in the last couple of games.
He's got a great nose for where the space might be or where the ball might fall. And I think in our team, because he wants to be fluid, he's not a striker. He's probably not really a box-to-box midfielder. He's not a winger. He probably is more of a number 10, but we don't play with a number 10.
Yeah, so like 8.5.
Yeah, he falls into that category. So for him to like just pop around, sometimes up front, sometimes left, sometimes midfield, kind of works for us. I don't think he's work shy. I think he will get back when necessary, but he will frustrate at times because,
of course,
he's learning a new system. He's learning about new teams. We move the ball a lot quicker, a lot sharper than Chelsea did. So that's going to take a while for him to get fully up to speed, and he will sometimes get caught on the ball because he's not sharp in the way that a Jesus or a Martinelli is, if you know what I mean. He sort of does things
at his own pace at times.
Yeah, he's a calm player. He reminds me a lot of Mesut Ozil, really.
Yeah.
In terms of what he can bring. And look, if he can bring those killer passes, the goals, even more goals than Ozil, a real guile and class to the midfield, I'm all for it. No one could tell me that what Granit Xhaka did for us last season, which was brilliant, no one can convince me that Kai Havertz can't do just as much, if not more.
I agree.
I think he can do more, certainly in an attacking sense. So yeah, I'm not worried. But there will be games where he has an off game, and there will be moaners and groaners. And if I'm honest, I think in some of the toughest games, he might not make the starting 11.
Might have to go Rice and Partey, at this moment.
It could be a case of Partey, Rice, and Odegaard might be your midfield three against the real big boys. But you've got him as the option to come off the bench. So yeah, I'm all for the signing. It was a lot of money, but he's 24. He's got his best years ahead of him. He's proven to be a quality Premier League player.
Champions League winner as well.
He's won the Champions League. He's played in the World Cups, Euros. I think he's a great addition. I really do.
And I agree with you. I think there's obviously numerous reasons to be concerned. I think there's reasons to be optimistic. I think Arteta has shown that he can take players that are somewhat highly rated. You know, Odegaard was there and kind of craft them. And, you know, Arteta has shown me enough to not blind. I don't believe in blindly backing anyone, but I'm going to rock with it until there's reasons not to. And I think, as you said there, you know, if there's games we might just have to get Rice and Partey and be more physically imposing, we're going to have to do that really and truly. And also, you made a great point about when Jesus drops. I think Havertz likes to go and make that forward run. And I think at times, as great as Jesus is, sometimes he wants to get too involved. We don't necessarily occupy the centre half. So Havertz is an intelligent player. He could read that and do that. So you are right.
The height is big. And then I wasn't surprised that Arteta mentioned it.
Brings physicality, you're right.
Yeah, we didn't really have anyone to score headers last season. I mean, Jesus did, and Martinelli did score headers, but like most of the crosses have to be low, don't they?
Or if our centre halves don't score from corners, we're not really going to score from headers per se.
Exactly. So I got a feeling, especially like I'm thinking about Odegaard, right? So on that right side, Odegaard or Saka, when they're sort of messing around with it and they cut back onto their left foot and they're looking to clip a ball into the box. Last season,
we never
didn't really have anyone to go for. I see Havertz ghosting in for fun in those areas, and he's going to be a threat. I think 10 of his 32 goals for Chelsea were headers, but the more impressive stat, and I did this for the Breakdown live show the other day, only 2 strikers won more aerial duels than Kai Havertz last year.
See, I never knew that. I wouldn't have even thought that.
So you won't be surprised to hear that those two are Mitrovic and Tony. So,
yeah.
I mean, they're giants, or they're aerial
He's
giants.
never going to do it more than them,
Havertz is up there with them. In terms of headers on goal, so headed shots, Tony, Mitrovic, Kane, and then Havertz.
And the 3 are out and out forward, so he's in good company there.
Exactly. So he adds loads in the aerial department. I was looking at how many headed shots Arsenal had last year as well, just to sort of put a bit of context on it. We ranked 17th for headed shots
in the relegation zone for that. We need to go up and add more dimensions to our game. Then
just escape relegation when it came to headed shots. So like ultimately it didn't cost us, but surely it's going to be good to have an extra string to our bow this season. So with Havertz in the squad, I'm telling you now, we'll have more than the 65 headed shots I think it was we had last season. It'll be 80, 90, and we'll probably be closer to mid-table.
I'm definitely agreeing with you. And if Havertz can bring goals and replace the 7 goals, 7 assists Xhaka did, and he can score some more headers, then ultimately that should correlate to more goals, more 3 points, and taking us closer to what Arteta once said of being a team that could score 100 odd. And I agree with you with the headers, because he didn't he had an opportunity against United where he didn't bag. He scored from the back post against MLS All-Stars, and he kind of did that with the help of Saka and Odegaard against Barcelona. So I'm all for that, really and truly, if I'm honest with you. Declan Rice, then, what can you add on Declan Rice? Because I mean, people say we're not ambitious. That is a statement signing there, club record, all these things.
I can't remember us signing a player as wanted as Declan Rice.
Never thought we'd get him at any point.
Ever. Like, I was a player when we signed Bergkamp. Now, Bergkamp was world class at the time, but at that point, even Inter Milan, he was having problems at Inter. There was a question marks with certain quarters. So not everyone wanted Dennis Bergkamp at that time, and we went and got him. We smashed the transfer record. Yeah, and look what he sparked, really. I mean, he sparked, the most successful years in the club's history. Since then, we've always been outbid by teams with more money, whether it's Man United, whether it's Chelsea, whether it's Man City, Barcelona, PSG, Bayern Munich. We haven't been able to live with them since probably we moved to the Emirates in terms of quality players. Like we've bought really good players,
but there's had to be some sort of deal around it, or some sort of factors.
Have we bought a player that those teams really wanted and bid for at the same time?
Not really.
Have we outbid them? We haven't. This is a huge moment. It really is, and I love the fact that he chose us over Manchester City for the challenge, because he sees us, going places over the next few years. So yeah, I've always loved Declan Rice. I'm not just saying.
Oh, you're not alone, man. I don't think a single person couldn't like him, man. And if you do, I don't know. If you don't, I don't know.
He's a class player and a real good bloke, a good leader. I I can't find too much wrong with his game. I just think he's going to add so much to us. Again, with him, it might take a few weeks to get up to speed because he said it, didn't he, in an interview the other day. He's sort of reprogramming his mind.
Don't judge him on 2 weeks. I think
Yeah, because Mikel Arteta's a little bit like Pep, has got very different ideas on the way the game's played. So giving him a lot of new information. And, we've all got to compute new information. It's tough, isn't it? And it might not come
you need to
naturally.
adapt.
Yeah, it might not come naturally to him for a few weeks. So, yeah, be patient, but we know he's class. And I think he will take us to the next level and he'll give us much more stability. He's all-rounder. He's not just defensive. He'll have plenty when we have the ball. He'll get some goals. So, yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait for him to be up to speed and in that red and white shirt. It's going to be brilliant.
And like you said there, I think everyone can see, Declan Rice like a ball-winning midfielder. He has physicality. He's got leadership, which, having seen Granit Xhaka leave, we've kind of got a like-for-like replacement in that. Yep. Someone who's been tied down to a 6-year deal at 24, 25. I don't want to overrate him before he's kicked a ball, but I think this is, the closest we are getting to replacing Patrick Vieira, finally, if I'm brutally honest. You kind of vaguely touched on it, and I know he touches on adding goals and assists. What do you think he can bring to his game? Because I think he shows that he can pass the ball forward a lot more than he does, but I think he's going to have to do that a lot more consistently at Arsenal. And I think he could learn from Partey and Jorginho in that regards.
Yeah, well, he's going to be playing probably 10 or 20 yards higher up the pitch for a start, because at West Ham, they were so defensive, weren't they? Yeah. David Moyes, most of the game he spends inside his own half. It's going to be different now because we're going to be in the opposition half. One thing I really noticed about him at West Ham was the way he travelled with the ball.
Very good ball carrier.
He wants to surge forward. And I think he'll in those games where you just need a bit of a spark, you need something to get the fans going. He's going to make those charging runs and spark some attacks. So yeah, I think he can play that box to box role. He can play the 6. He's a great interceptor, a brilliant interceptor.
As the stats suggest.
Yeah, miles better than anyone we've had. And he's good on those press situations as well. So we know where the guy's going to go and Jesus, and they're going to press from the front.
And now we've got an added layer.
But what he does, and we saw it for that penalty that he helped to win against us in that nightmare draw at West Ham.
Yeah, where Partey lost it
occasionally. Does it? Occasionally, he just pops up and he goes, bang, I'm going. And when he goes, he's very, very good at winning the ball. So yeah, I can't see how it's going to go wrong for him. He's going to be a monster for us.
And I mean, he's Premier League proven, which I think Arteta has shown. He'll buy a number of players in the Premier League. Certainly, in the Emirates era, we've frequently bought Premier League players to mixed success. What do you make of the departure of Granit Xhaka then?
Fair enough. Like, if he wanted to go, he goes with our blessing. Like, I'm pleased that he went on a high. It was a great high, wasn't it, that Wolves game?
Definitely from when he was about to leave, when Arteta walked in, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I think it was a great redemption story. I love the fact that the fans really bought into him and his personality. He had a great season. But look, sometimes you've got to let good players go to bring in younger models.
Fresher blood, yeah.
That's all it is. We didn't want to have too many 30-somethings in the squad. He was up for moving back to Germany. I think it's a win-win. It's a win for him. And it's a win for us because we get to bring in a Havertz, bring in a Rice that can play in those positions. And I don't think we're weaker. So, yeah, no, wish him well. He's had a great career with Arsenal.
Do you think we have enough options in midfield then? Or could we do with another one?
I think we want one more. Who plays if Ødegaard's injured? For
this
a start,
is it.
I think we could potentially go in for someone else. I mean, Trossard could, Smith Rowe could, Havertz could switch over to that side, I suppose. Even right, although Rice, I think, is better on the left. I think, maybe another body. If Partey stays, and it looks like he's going to stay now, then we probably don't need Lavia, which is why I think he's being heavily linked with Liverpool now. If Partey had gone, I think we would have gone big on Lavia. But look, if we've got Jorginho, we've got Partey, and we've got Rice. That's 3 good ones.
And the luxury of El Nene if required, the worst comes to worst.
Exactly. We've got loads of players that can play left side box to box. It's just the right, isn't it? I think Smith Rowe might get some games there. Vieira,
Yeah, he looked
obviously.
good off the bench in them roles in the last couple of games, really.
Yeah, but yeah, maybe a proper box to box guy. I mean, we were linked with someone like Gundogan, weren't we? For example,
Oh, that would have
someone
been
like
lovely if we got that
yeah,
over the line,
exactly.
man.
But if there's a younger Gundogan model out there, I can't think off the top of my head.
Neither can I.
We might be in for them, but we probably shouldn't get too greedy. But yeah, look, it's going to be interesting. I don't think maybe one more body in midfield, but I don't know if it'll be the priority for Arteta.
I mean, we've spoken about Havertz and Rice. What have you made of our third summer edition, Mr. Timber?
Yeah, I like him. Yeah, I mean, it's early days, but he showed he could play left back, didn't he, the other day? That was good. Pretty solid. Travels well with the ball. I looked when he signed. I did some analysis pieces on him. I mean, he can play in those central midfield areas. He plays centre half, right back, left back. He'll be fun. He's going to be good. He's snappy. He's quick. He's
He's
got good
aggressive,
football.
man.
Yeah, aggressive. Good football brain. Excellent passer. No one made more successful passes than him in the Dutch league last season.
Wow.
So yeah. So and no one. I think he was very, very high up on the list of forward passes as well. So he's not a sideways merchant. Where possible, he'll always look to try and go forward. So yeah, no, he's going to be great. I think probably if I'm Ben White, I'm a little bit nervous in terms
I was
of
just going to ask you that, but you've answered it. Yeah.
am I gonna keep my place? I think that yeah, it's going to be a fair competition. I really like the White Saka combo, but hand on heart, maybe Timber might be the better, more natural right
There
back.
might be more layers to his game there.
Yeah, exactly. So, but will he be able to form the same rapport with Saka? Probably. I think we're going to see that position rotated quite a lot because for Timber, I don't see him. He's not going to oust Saliba. Saliba's going to play, isn't he? But maybe in the cup competitions we might see Timber or White play at centre half instead of Saliba, which is fine.
As you said earlier, I mean, a big reason as to why our season kind of didn't end the way we dreamed of is because of injuries. And for me, I can't praise Arteta, Edu, and everyone involved enough because now we've got some great options. If Tomiyasu can stay fit, can play across the back three, Timber showed he can do it. Kyrgios actually showed. It seems like Arteta is just testing out everyone who can play left back. Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Zinchenko's played no part, but he's there. I wouldn't want to see Rice at centre back, but God forbid if worse came to worse and our bodies are gone, we could do that. And also it could be like we could somewhat mimic City in the sense of they've got real good 1v1 defenders when you've got Diaz, when you've got Ake, when you've got missing out someone, Akanji, when you've got Kyle Walker. Yeah. And the added layer of John Stones in that midfield role, and that would kind of be our Rice. That would be amazing for us. What have you made of the new deals then? Because I think we've done good. We've not only brought in players, we've obviously tied down Nelson, Saliba, Saka, Martinelli, I believe Ramsdale as well, and there's talk of Benjamin White and Odegaard to follow suit.
Yeah, well, yeah, great. It's just great. I mean, why would you want to leave though? I mean, it's just,
exactly.
It's just starting to get good, isn't it? So I'm not surprised at all that the guys want to stay. We can't kid ourselves. Like there's some major clubs that are going to want our players. Like,
could you imagine if we tried to buy these players from other clubs? We wouldn't have no money in the bank.
Exactly. So we've got some great assets. Obviously, the most valuable club side in the world, according to some experts, which is brilliant. Because we certainly haven't spent the most money.
Exactly.
So we're making nice profits, but we don't want to lose any of them. And we've got their best years ahead of them. I mean, this is a very, very, very exciting time to be an Arsenal fan because, the bulk of the team are committed to long-term contracts. They're in their early 20s and they're hungry. They're loving the gaffer.
They're ambitious.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But with that, comes a bit of pressure. So if we don't win a trophy, will the pressure start? Will people get onto them and say, well, look, to win trophies, you need to leave? Hopefully that won't be the situation, but it's something that might happen.
Crossed.
The other thing is if players do so well, other clubs are going to offer them silly money, aren't they? Or potentially offer us silly money. And, that they might ask the question every now and again. Someone like Mikel Arteta is going to be, if we're brilliant next season, they're all going to want him, aren't they? So, yeah, we've got to be careful. Nothing lasts forever. But hopefully Arteta and this group of players can stay as one for, the next 3, 4 years, and we can just top it up with quality additions along the way. That's the
As
plan.
you said there, if we could supplement it with some quality, we're laughing. I mean, the nature of the business, not everyone's going to be here forever, but as long as we can create some memories, we've got their contracts tied down, and we can get silly money, because the players we have at our club, with the way football is going, I've seen less players go for 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 million. If there's ever a scenario with the Martinelli, Salibas, etc., then if we could get that and reinvest, and maybe, have a next Declan Rice, that's a somewhat of a franchise signing, we're laughing. My last question for you would be in terms of outgoings. Why do you think, we haven't really seen any outgoings, and what do you make of the outgoings? Because there's speculation over Pepe, Tavares, Lokonga, Mr. Balogun. Would you look to even utilize Balogun? Yeah,
it's a tough, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know why they've not been sold yet, some of these guys, because I think it's clear that a few are going to be sold. Obviously, maybe we're in a position where we're driving a harder bargain, which we're more than entitled to do, of course. I think we will see some players go. I mean, I suppose there's no panic for us if we lost a few of the names you mentioned by the end of the transfer window.
They're on the fringes anyways.
Yeah, it's not going to impact the first team that much. The big one is the striker, isn't it? I think for Eddie's on a long-term contract and has done very well when he's been available, but how many opportunities is he going to get this season? That's the big question mark.
And how much is he going to progress with those lack of minutes, really and truly? Not to criticize Arteta, because there's better players in front of him.
Exactly, but we've got trust. If Jesus isn't available, what do we think he'll do? Will it be Eddie, or would it be Havertz, or would it be a Trossard insteed? I tend to think it might be Trossard, Havertz, and then Eddie, but that might not be the case. I'm just guessing. And with Balogun, he's in a similar boat to Eddie. I think one of them will be sold for sure. Don't know who it's going to be. Probably Balogun, because of the value. He's obviously probably got a bit more value in the transfer market.
Got caps by America now as well and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. By what happened last season for him in France. So, and he doesn't seem like he'd be that happy being on the bench.
Yeah.
So I think he probably will go. But if he goes, I mean, there's a scenario where both could go, of course. You could argue for their own careers
that they might need to.
They both should be number one somewhere. And if that happens, then I think we would absolutely have to go out and get a really, really good young striker that's happy to develop with us over
and be second fiddle at least initially.
Years.
You're right.
Yeah, so that might be what happens because they're. I remember when I left Arsenal, Arsene Wenger sort of said, "Look, you're 22. You're not really in my plans for the first team this season. So you need football. You're 22. You need football.
Minutes are currency.
So I'm not going to stand in your way of leaving." And you look at the ages now of Balogun and Eddie, it kind of applies to them a little bit. Whereas a 18, 19, 20-year-old is going to be happy and okay.
Just to be in and around in the mix.
Yeah. So look, over the next, whether it happens this window, but it would not surprise me if over the next year they both left and that we brought in someone younger to be that backup instead.
That wouldn't surprise me either, because you could argue that as much as we want all the Haaland boys to come through, if you could find a younger striker better than them, then that's the nature of the business. And maybe even someone that, when I look at Eddie, Balogun and Jesus, they're all very different, but they're all very similar to a degree. If you could find a target man or someone that's better in terms of hold-up play, someone that's more of a target, especially I look at games like at Liverpool at Anfield in the second half, once we took off Odegaard and Jesus, we just simply couldn't get out. Like, that game wasn't really a game for Trossard's capabilities as a false nine. So I think you're right. And I think, if you're, I know he's a midfielder, but if you're young Charlie Patino, if you're Balogun, if you're Eddie, potentially this even applies to Nelson as well. In that, I think a luxury that Saka was always going to come through and be amazing. But I think what helped Saka and Smith Rowe is that, we kind of had to reset the layers of our club and give them a platform. Naturally, as we get better, there's less opportunities for that. So that could be something they discuss. I know I said, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say very quickly before we move on from that, like the timing was great for Saka, for Smith Rowe, for Martinelli, because we weren't that good.
Because we weren't good, yeah.
And we needed them. And they got the opportunities. That is the problem for the young kids coming through now, that the bar has been raised.
At all Premier League clubs, really.
Yeah, but particularly for us. So you've got to be really good or really lucky to get your opportunity at the moment. It is timing. And I just feel for some of those guys, they'll need first team football. But we don't want to leave ourselves light. So and it's good to have these quality young players coming through the academy. So we'll see. I know that we got a couple 16-year-olds that are very decent as well.
Yeah, Miles and Ethan look very good. And Koji Dewberry, got to give them time, but they'll be good.
Those three look real talents, don't they?
They look really talented. And the thing is with them is that, they're at the best place for their development. I know I said last question, but I can't have you here and not ask this. What is our ambitions for next season? Like, what is the goal? I know this is probably a question you get asked a million times, but we're in July. What's the target? What would we want to look like?
I don't know if I have been asked it this season, so you're in there first. No, the target's to win the title. It's got to be. I mean, we almost won it last season, so why not?
We flirted with it, yeah.
We've got to shoot for that. If we don't win it again, does that mean we've underachieved? Not necessarily, but let's try and get to the mid 80 points, 85 points or above. Let's try and make progress. I think that's the ambition. If that try and get into the 90s. That would be my goal. Can we get 90 plus points?
I think that'd be mine as well.
And if we can get 90 plus points, it's going to take something pretty special to stop us. And I also think let's win a cup. It's been a while since we won the FA Cup. It's been a long time since we won the League Cup. So let's really go for one of those this year, because I think winning really does matter, and it will matter to Arteta and to the progression of the group.
The end goal of the players, really, essentially, it's a career. Sure, you want to win things.
You only get one career, and I think we should really go for it in the cup competitions and Champions League included. Look. What's the ambition in the Champions League? I think first year back in it, last 8. I think we're capable of getting to the last 8.
Knockouts,
I think last 8 is where we should aim. Anything better is a bonus. Last 16, I think, will be a slight disappointment. But look, you could draw Real Madrid in the last 16 and go out. In which case, you say, okay,
hold your hands up. You're playing world-class players, yeah,
exactly. But say we were to get to the last 16 and lose to a Porto or something like that.
Oh man,
Benfica, that's where you say, okay, we've underachieved in that competition. So go for the title, win a cup, and get to the last 8 of the Champions League, and that'll be a very good season.
I mean, you throughout this whole video, I thought I was pretty optimistic on Arsenal anyways, but you've made me even more optimistic, especially in terms of bringing a trophy home, because a couple of them boys have won the FA Cup and whatnot. And you as a former player, I assume when you win one trophy, you're thinking about the next one. It's like it's like a positive sort of drug of whatnot. So we'll just have to see, man. But, we've tied down new players. Tied down contracts. We've brought in new players. We've set a good foundation. It's just about purely forgetting about last season in a positive way and earning the right to win and be respected again, because as we said at the start, we weren't expected to win a title, but because of what we did in pre-season and we hit the ground running, it became a talking point. So hopefully that can be the case, man. Adrian, it's been amazing being here with you. I appreciate you giving me your 40 odd minutes of everything Arsenal. I'm going to let you get out of here, man.
No, honestly, it's been good fun. I've missed talking about Arsenal over the summer, so it's been nice to chat to you. And look, I do feel optimistic. We're going to have down days. We're going to lose games. We're going to have some matches where we might all waver a little bit, but I think the curve is going to go upwards. So it should be another great season.
It would be nice to beat Manchester City as well. I'm just going to put that out there because, them lot down the road beat them all the time, really. So.
Look, we'll put that on the list of our targets for the season. Beat City at least once.
100%, man. You look at the game at the Emirates where I actually think we did all right, but mistakes let us down. I actually think out of the 3 games we played against City, probably the FA Cup one was, for me, the closest encounter. I think away at the Etihad, we just crumbled and capitulated, and the less said about that, the better, man. But on that note, Adrian, as I said, appreciate you for doing this yearly series sort of with myself. Appreciate you for speaking Arsenal. Take care of yourself. People, smash the like button, subscribe, and all of that, and we're out.
There's always just that accurate defending. I think it's like